Okay, YouTubers, Paranormal Police and Space Detectives. Today we are looking at this large Gigapan by Neville Thompson, and it's a re-render of an older pan that was done years ago. But what he's done, he's done a much higher quality version of it, and it's quite stunning, I must say. This is awesome. He's done a few new ones recently, and this is one of the best. This is the Curiosity Rover, Mars Science Laboratory, Sol 1419. It's got the information down below if you want to look at that. It's 2.8 gigapixels, so this is big, right? And it's got real clarity, and it doesn't pixelate too much. It's got real, what I would call really high definition. And I'm pretty fussy about these things, okay? So now the area we're looking at is on the mountain. Now I'm just going to zoom out and let you start near the middle of this part here. The area to look at is right here, okay? Now I'm just going to zoom out and show you where to look. Now we've got these row of buttes, and it's just above here. What we're mainly concentrating on today is this area at the top. So we're top left corner here, which is these two images here, which are, you can see where the images are stitched together. It's these two here. And there's also something over here as well to the right, which I may show you if I've got time. But basically these are structures, and they're very, very large. Now, how far away is this? Now, I've got a folder up here. This is taken further over to the right of what I just showed you. And these structures are nearer where the rover is now. The area I just showed you is further over to the left of here, and but is approximately the same distance away. So the area we're concentrating on is around this sort of elevation here. So it's about between 9 and 10 kilometers away. That's a long way away. So the structures we're going to be looking at on here are very large indeed. This is about, I would say, about 9 kilometers up here, just up here where my cursor is. And it could be 10, it could be more, it could actually be 11 or 12. I don't know exactly. This is a long way off. It's very deceptive. We've got the sort of buttes in the foreground, and then we've got the slopes of Mount Sharp sloping off diagonally up here. So you follow these diagonal lines up to here, okay? And there's some really interesting structures up here. Now, previously, we weren't able to see them very clearly. And I have done videos on these before, and I've speculated that some of these may be massive buildings and structures. Having looked at this today, and looked at this much clearer, higher resolution Gigapan, I think I may have been correct. And I've also spotted one or two other things that look really interesting as well. So what I'll do, rather than go through the whole Gigapan here and show you everything, what I'm going to do is show you the stuff I've got in the folder, and then you can find these pretty easily on that background part of the Gigapan. These things are all there, you can find them yourself. I encourage people to look at these Gigapans because they, especially this one, because it's so nice and such high quality. You can really see stuff clearly, and it looks pretty amazing. So let's start with that thing like up in the far top left. Now, this is a raw clip. Now, this thing here, I would say, is about 500 to 700 feet tall. This is absolutely enormous, right? Very tall, very high structures. And I looked at this and I thought, wow, I've never seen it this clearly before. So what I did, I got that raw image there, and I used fade correction on it, which you should be able to get on your, anyone who's got any software out there should have fade correction on it, if it's Photoshop or something similar. And what that does, that restores the blue in the image, it gets rid of the orange filter. And I thought, wow, look at that. I'm not going to say what I think this is yet. So then I went a bit brighter from there. Here we are. So I've done some really basic stuff to this. And what this looks like to me is a massive, massive statue here. Now, imagine this with a head, right? Here. Look at this. Here, torso, waistband here, long straight arm with the elbow and wrist detail, and you've got breast detail there, shoulder coming over. Okay, now that's not quite right, but at least that's the right angle. Now what if this had a head like that on it, right? Because what we have here, we have a shoulder, we have an arm coming down, we have an elbow, we have wrist and hand detail here. You can see an elbow there, right? Now I'm trying to draw with a new mouse here, it's not very good, but I'll do it anyway. It's a bit wobbly, this mouse. It's much quieter than my other one, it's got a much better wheel on it, but the actual tracking isn't as good. But you can actually see an arm here, right? Now is it possible that there would be, on the side of this mountain at Mount Sharp, a carved person or massive statue that is 500 or 600 feet tall? Is that possible? I think it is. Why do I think it's possible? Because of the other things I've found in the area, including the giant sphinx, which is down below here, which is something between 200 and 300 feet long, possibly longer. I estimate it to be 225 feet long, which is approximately the same size as the one in Egypt, in Cairo. There are also there's the Forbidden City over to the right over to the right of here, which I've shown in many videos. I'll link to some of them at the end of this one if you haven't seen those. Now, so what I'm saying is this. This looks like a giant Colossus style statue with no head. That doesn't mean it is, but there's the arm coming right down. And you've got elbow detail. You've even got what looked like some sort of chest plate detail here. And if you look closely, we've even got down here something coming across like I don't know what that represents, but you've got something there coming over it. I don't know what that means, as if it's depicting some kind of material. Now let me show you, let me go back to that folder again, because this is the closest sort of thing I could find, even though it's not really the right way round. What you had to imagine, I think this is supposed to be Julius Caesar. I think what you had to imagine is if this is, we're seeing this from the side here and not from the almost full on from the front, and we have this material here and various things depicted in this carving, right, in this statue. And also have a look at this. Now this isn't the right stance, but it gives you an idea of size, because that's the sort of size we're looking at. The Colossus of Rhodes. There are many depictions of the Colossus of Rhodes. So basically, what we have here, I've got those two clips to compare directly. Now you can actually see from this distance quite clearly that looks like a statue. And if I put it next to this, the only thing that we're missing is a head. We've got very similar shoulder and arm detail coming down here. We've got a torso and waist coming in. We've even got what looks like a waistband, which is blue, sort of a dark blue colour, and some material coming down here, or what represents material, I should say. I'm not saying this is actually material, I'm saying that this is possibly being carved, much like this has, this one here, to look like material, or represent material. And we even have, if you look really carefully, you can see these kind of lines coming up here, almost similar to this detail here on the sleeve going over the shoulder. So very tantalizing detail here. So could it be? Yes, I do think so. Can I prove it? No, I can't, because really this still isn't close enough to actually verify it fully. I would, obviously love to see much closer images of this area, and also see them from different angles. I've been carefully keeping my eye on this part of Mount Sharp for a long time now, hoping that something would come along that would show me, or us, in much better detail, and this is it. I mean, I don't know if it will get any better than this. But there we have it. That's what it looks like. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it certainly looks like one. And I do think it's possible because, like I said, there's a giant sphinx and there's pyramids and massive domes and huge, huge buildings in the area, which kind of match up with the scale of this thing and the style. I'm just going to show you some of the things I've found. There's this rather strange structure here, which kind of looks like a flying saucer shape, but it's not. It's a structure sticking up independently with a kind of weird structure around it. So I'm just going to flick through those. There we are. I thought that was weird. That is really odd. Is it possible that that could be a ship that's kind of landed there and it's all kind of covered in sand and crap? Could be. Don't know. That was interesting. Now, one of my favourites of this area was this. Now, I was actually looking at this very bright thing here, and I thought that looks interesting. If you see something that stands out really brightly, it often is either something really interesting or is near something interesting. And as I was looking at that, what I did, I colour corrected it, used fade correction, bang, and I noticed this up here. Up here in the right corner. I thought, wow, look at this. This is what looks like an intelligent structure here, built, just there, look. Similar to others I've shown in recent videos as well. Massive. This is hundreds of feet high. Not as tall as that possible Colossus statue. But also, if you look down here, where this bright thing is, look at this here. What we have here is what look like some kind of dwellings carved into the side of the mountain. Now, I've been saying this for many years now, and in fact, if you look back at some of my recent videos or past videos, there's videos showing caves on the side of Mount Sharp and cave dwellings. I think it's called cave dwellings on Mars Mountain or something. And there's rows and rows of holes in some of these ridges on the mountainside, which look like they were carved into the actual cliff edges, like dwellings, like you would see at places like Petra in the Middle East, and places like that, you know, where you have actual buildings carved right into the rock. Okay, so that's what this looks like. We've got this rectangular thing here, and this is very odd. This thing here is very odd. This very bright thing, that looks like it could be an intelligent structure. I mean, why would it be so bright? And this up here, this looks like it's made from faced sandstone. In other words, the reason why it's so reflective is because it's been, the stone has been smooth faced. In other words, dressed and then placed on a structure, like the pyramids would have looked when they were newer. Really bright and reflective. In fact, I've had to darken this down a bit. Let me show you another clip of that. I think I've got a closer one. So this was really cool. Not only do we have this kind of rectangular structure here, inside this part, with this very bright thing, but we got a building up here. So these are buildings, and fairly obvious, I would say. And there's some interesting details down here. So basically, we've never seen this part of Mount Sharp in this much detail before. Now, there's also this thing, which I've found years ago. Now, I did a video about this, I think it was called Mars Fort or something. So you check the cards out at the end of the video, and it would link to some of these other videos that are related to this area. And there was this. Now, initially that just looks like a mound, but it's not. When you see it in the hand, I'll show you the last one. It's nice and bright. This looks like a fortress, and it's on a massive, massive mound. Now, this is from here, where my cursor is here, to here. This is probably a few hundred feet, maybe 400, I don't know. But it's very tall. It's not as big as some of the other things up there, but it's closer and near the bottom of Mount Sharp. So it just looks bigger because it's closer. Not only do we have this very strange bright thing here, which is highly reflective, but we have what looks like some kind of fortress kind of structure, and we have this. Now, I pointed this out in the original version of this video. You've got a pathway leading up here, and you've got it curving round with steps going up. Let's zoom in a bit. You can actually see steps here, going up here, and then up to here. So you get up here, and then you would go up there into the structure, right? And we've got these weird sort of like sloping column type structures to it as well. Very odd indeed. Really weird. And there's some weird stuff up here as well. Don't know whether that's intelligently made or not. But this looks like an actual fortress. And you've got structures in here. Let's get rid of that then. You've got some interesting details. And those steps are massive. Now, I'm not saying that someone could walk up these steps. What I think these are terraces going up. And there may be much smaller steps going up in between those terraces. So you can actually walk all the way up to the top. So that is massive. I would say about 300 to 400 feet from here to here. So basically you want to be looking mostly up here. There's some crazy stuff up here. There's that Colossus, that I'm calling it. There's a weird thing here that looks like a cat with big ears, but I think that may be carved into the mountain, or it's kind of an optical illusion. I think that's an optical trick. But these optical tricks may be deliberate. If there were people living here, which there were, then they may have been very conscious of these optical tricks and deliberately constructed things to make them look interesting. So this is quite a long way up, but it seems it's not as far up as some of the things. It's quite a long way off. So this could be 400 or 500 feet high. There we are. And in the raw clip, you can see that bright dot there. But you can see that, you can even see those steps leading up here. They're not very clear. So what you need to do is take a clip and then use fade correction or color correction and then add some contrast, and you'll see all that detail pop out. It's all there. So there's loads and loads of crazy, crazy things up on this mountain. Most of it's natural, it seems, but some of it looks really unnatural and looks like these things were carved out of solid rock and even built up from the solid rock as well, from the bedrock. So there we are. I would also advise people out there to go and check out Third Phase of Moon's latest couple of videos. They've got some apparent leaked footage from space that someone supposedly found on a USB stick in Berlin, and it's going totally viral. They've got this stuff that looks like it was taken from inside a spaceship, similar to one of the Apollo craft. It could have been a later Apollo mission that was kept secret from us. That's my interpretation. And you can see this thing flying and filming massive UFOs and stuff near Saturn and also near Mars and the moon and everything. Some of it is amazing and looks very much like it was taken from an Apollo craft or something similar. You can actually see the inside of the window here, and people are trying to work out whether it's real. And what I would advise any of you to do, if you've got any space on your hard drives on your computers, is to actually download and rip these videos from Third Phase or anyone else that's got anything like this, just in case, because I think a lot of these videos may get taken down very shortly by YouTube and blocked. So I'm advising people to take copies of these videos if you can, for future reference, because we might lose them. Okay, and that's always a good practice to do. I'm not saying you should publish them on your channel or anything, not yet anyway. But if you see anything that looks really cool and you think may be very important, rip it and keep it in your files, because one day it might be the only copy left. Let's just say that for now. So do come along, and also come along and check out my new channel, Space Detective 1 as well. You can link to that from my main channel here. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.